Before the US court, we are now seeing a big statement coming in from the United States of America. The Trump government has cited that India-Pakistan ceasefire. And this is a statement coming in from the documents that were submitted by the US government. US Commerce Secretary said trade offer ensured that there was truce between India and Pakistan. India today has accessed the full version of what Lutnick has said in the US court. India has clarified firing stopped after talks with Pakistan. It was Donald Trump who said that tariffs were being used as a tool to broker peace between India and Pakistan. Big statement which is now coming in from the United States of America. India today has accessed the full transcription. Before the US court, Trump's tariff pause. Trump government cited Indo-Pakistan ceasefire in the US court. US Commerce Secretary has said that trade was offered and that became an ensured. India-Pakistan truce. India today has accessed the full version of Lutnick in the US court. India clarified. Firing stopped after they had a conversation with Pakistan. Trade indeed was being used as one of the topics between India and Pakistan. Donald Trump has been claiming since day one that the ceasefire happened because the United States of America intervened between India and Pakistan. India has said now let's listen into what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, US President Donald Trump said, and the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said with regards to the ceasefire.
On Saturday, my administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire, I think a permanent one, between India and Pakistan, ending a dangerous conflict of two nations with lots of nuclear weapons. And they were going at it hot and heavy, and it was seemingly not going to stop. And I'm very proud to let you know that the leadership of India and Pakistan was unwavering, powerful, but unwavering in both cases, and having these, they really were, from the standpoint of having the strength and the wisdom and fortitude to fully know and to understand the gravity of the situation. And we helped a lot. And we helped also with trade. I said, come on, we're going to do a lot of trade with you guys. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. If you stop it, we're doing trade. If you don't stop it, we're not going to do any trade. People have never really used trade the way I used it. That I can tell you. And all of a sudden they said, I think we're going to stop.
भारत की आक्रामक कार्रवाई के बाद पाकिस्तान बचने के रास्ते खोजने लगा। पाकिस्तान दुनिया भर में तनाव कम करने के लिए गुहार लगा रहा था और बुरी तरह पीटने के बाद इसी मजबूरी में 10 मई की दोपहर को पाकिस्तानी सेना ने हमारे डीजीएमओ को संपर्क किया। तब तक हम आतंकवाद के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को बड़े पैमाने पर तबाह कर चुके थे। आतंकियों को मौत के घाट उतार दिया गया था। पाकिस्तान के सीने में बसाए गए आतंक के अड्डों को हमने खंडहर बना दिया था। इसलिए जब पाकिस्तान की तरफ से गुहार लगाई गई, पाकिस्तान की तरफ से जब ये कहा गया कि उसकी ओर से आगे कोई आतंकी गतिविधि और सैन्य दुस्साहस नहीं दिखाया जाएगा, तो भारत ने भी उस पर विचार किया।
For some reason, both armies were able to talk to each other, initiated by the Pakistani army?
Yes. You know, we have a mechanism to talk to each other as a hotline.
Yep.
So on the 10th of May, it was the Pakistani army which sent a message that they were ready to stop firing, and we responded accordingly.
And where was the US in this process?
Well, the US was in the United States. I mean, obviously there were US Secretary of State Rubio and Vice President Vance had called up. Rubio had spoken to me. Vance had spoken to our Prime Minister. They had their view, and they were talking to us, and they were talking to Pakistanis, as indeed were some other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, the United States was not alone in this. I think there were some countries in the Gulf. There were some others as well. That happens naturally when two countries are engaged in a conflict. But the ceasefire, the cessation of firing and military action was something which was negotiated directly between India and Pakistan. We made one thing very clear to everybody who spoke to us, not just United States, but to everybody, saying, look, if the Pakistanis want to stop firing, they need to tell us. We need to hear it from them. Their general has to call up our general and say this. And that is what happened.
My colleagues Pranay Upadhyay and Nalini Sharma are now joining me on the story. Coming to you first, Pranay, big statement coming in, and this is an admission which is being done by the US administration in the US court that it was trade indeed that was being used so that a ceasefire can happen between India and Pakistan.
You're right, Aishwarya. This is a key admission because there's a sweeping remark and a ruling which has come from the US-based court on international trade, restricting US President Donald Trump's decision to deploy tariff as a tool, because the court has ruled that the right to exercise and to change the tariff and its jurisdiction can only be done by the US Congress and not the president. However, they did not pass any ruling on restricting the wisdom of president or his authority. But clearly, they have defined the authority, that where does the authority lies. And after that, the U.S. administration, the Trump administration, has reached out to the appellate court in U.S. And there are also indications that they might go to the U.S. Supreme Court as well. But if you see the Howard Lutnick's statement, who is the USTR, U.S. Trade Representative, this clearly shows that this is a case of a hard sell. Trump administration is trying to convince the U.S. courts that how they have used the trade as tool to bring and broker peace between India and Pakistan, however, or to bring so-called ceasefire. However, the Indian side never used the word ceasefire. Rather, we are just calling it a pause because Operation Sindoor is still on. But you see the irony, Aishwarya, here. The Indian side has never accepted or admitted that this is a U.S. broker deal, because the phone call was made by the Pakistani side. Pakistanis might have approached the U.S. side. There is a difference between negotiation and engagement. We did remain engaged with the U.S. as we remain engaged with other international partners as well, and we have made it clear right from like 22nd of April, Belgium terror attack, that we are for peace. We want to eradicate terrorism, and we will not, we will not appear the continuation of the terrorism as a policy by the Pakistani state.
Right.
So therefore, this is a hard sell by the U.S. administration, by the Trump administration, before the U.S. courts.
Right, Pranay, please stay on with me. Nalini Sharma, my colleague, is also joining me on the story. Nalini, this is a big admission which is coming in. Now, we are seeing that the administration is now saying in a US court that it was actually, the ceasefire that has happened between India and Pakistan. The US administration highlighted the trade that was happening. But we are also seeing on the other side, the US court putting a stop to the kind of tariff that the president had been levying globally across various countries.
Well, Aishwarya, this was before the United States Court of International Trade that this statement was made by Howard Lutnick. And let me highlight something very important from his statement that has been submitted before this court. He goes on to say that this ceasefire was only achieved after President Trump interceded and offered both nations trading access with the United States to avert a full-scale war, which is a little different, but importantly a little different from the statement that the President Trump had made, because the statement by Howard Lutnick goes on to say that President Trump had offered trade with the United States to both nations, whereas President Trump had spoken about how he threatened both the nations to stop trade in case the conflict did not come to an immediate end. So which of these two statements is true? Was trade offered to the state to India and Pakistan in return for stopping the for implementing the ceasefire and stopping the ongoing conflict, or was it used as a threat? Because that was what was claimed by President Trump. Along with that, we also know that there was a large defense that was stated out by Howard Lutnick during the statement that was given by him, where he's also spoken about how these tariffs that were imposed brought several of the countries, including a lot of adversaries of the United States, to the negotiating table, including China, and how US has been able to gather a lot of foreign policy support from other countries by using these tariffs. But at the same time, it's important to remember that this case was filed by a US company itself against the US administration, stating that these tariffs were brought in without proper authorization from the Congress. And in addition to that, that these tariffs were actually adversely impacting a lot of small businesses even within the United States. So it remains to be seen how the US administration plans to take this case forward in the coming days. But for now, definitely, it's a huge statement coming in from Howard Lutnick in written, submitted before a court of law in the United States of America.
Nalini, please stay on with me. Pranay is also with us on the story. Pranay, one of the things that a lot of countries were looking at, the suddenness with which Donald Trump had spoken about the tariffs, India to the Indian administration also. There's a lot of back and forth which is going on with regards to the tariffs. What the Supreme Court has said, the US court has very clearly said, they are saying that it was Donald Trump as a president who over-exceeded his authority in levying these kind of tariffs.
Yes, Aishwarya, as our colleague was also mentioning, that the court has clearly ruled that the authority lies with the U.S. Congress. And I think the President Donald Trump has exceeded, the three judges panel has ruled this thing, that the U.S. President has exceeded his authority. But as far as the India's case is concerned, you would recall, Aishwarya, that we have been engaging with the U.S. side on a bilateral trade agreement. You would recall that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the United States on 12th of February 2025, there was an announcement in the presence of both the leaders that India and the United States will start a negotiation process on a bilateral trade agreement. And recently, last week, the Indian Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal was there in the United States along with the delegation. There was an engagement with US Trade Representative Howard Lutnick on this issue. So we are engaging with the United States as far as the tariff issues are concerned and the bilateral trade agreement is concerned. But there was a clear statement by the Ministry of External Affairs and its spokesperson Ranjit Jaiswal stating that nowhere the word trade was mentioned in any engagement with the United States Vice President or the Secretary of State as far as the India-Pakistan conflict was concerned.
Right, Pranay. Thank you, Pranay and Nalini, for joining me on the story. Now we are seeing big statements coming in from the United States of America, statements submitted to the US court.